By way of overview, in response to the COVID-19 public health emergency, FDA issued a declaration regarding the appropriateness of utilizing EUAs. This measure by the FDA was designed to mitigate the stress on device supply chain and associated scarcity of certain devices that are critical to the prevention and management of COVID-19. Through this effort, FDA issued approximately 450 EUAs. Most of the devices receiving the EUAs are in vitro diagnostic tests for COVID-19. Given the magnitude of COVID-19 pandemic, FDA recognizes that it will take time for device manufacturers, healthcare facilities, providers, patients, and consumers to adjust from the policy adopted and operation implemented during the COVID-19 public health emergency to resuming normal operations. Therefore, FDA has developed and issued new guidance documents detailing phased transition plan for devices granted EUA designations. These transition guidance documents provide more clarity on how device manufacturers whose devices were made available via pandemic era EUAs will be affected once the public health emergency abates. EUA declarations are temporary and they can be terminated. When such happens, all EUA under the declaration also terminates. It therefore meant that all EUA designation now in place for medical devices that are yet to obtain 510(k) clearance from FDA will expire once the COVID-19 emergency is over. Once a device EUA designation expires, full US market registration is required in order to keep the devices in the US market. Then what are the FDA transition plan for EUA devices? FDA will provide an advance notice of termination for each EUA in the US Federal Register 180 days before the final termination date. FDA will not object to the continued distribution of devices within the scope of the guidance after the EUA termination date, where 1. The manufacturer submitted a marketing submission to the FDA and had it accepted by FDA before the EU termination date, and FDA has not taken a final action on the marketing submission. Next, between the time of the advance notice and termination date, manufacturers must continue to comply with the obligations under the respective EUA. FDA also recommends that manufacturers of specific reusable life-supporting and life-sustaining devices submit reports to the agency for evaluation of potential product shortages after the EUA termination date. After this date, the manufacturer must follow the proper channel laid out in the guidance or discontinue manufacturing. What about if you are not interested in full FDA registration after the EUA termination? FDA generally will not request market removal of already distributed devices if they meet the following. 1. They are single-use, non-supporting, non-life sustaining devices, for example, face mask. This, as long as they will be consumed by the end user. Number 2, reusable, non-life supporting, non-life sustaining devices, provided the manufacturer either restore these devices to the previously FDA cleared or approved version, or ensure available labeling that accurately describe the product features and regulatory status. The third option is for reusable, life-supporting, life-sustaining devices. Examples include ventilators. Again, under the same condition that the manufacturer either restore the devices to the previously FDA cleared or approved version of the device, or ensure publicly available labeling that accurately describe the product features and regulatory status to suggest that the product lack FDA clearance or approval. The fourth one is in vitro diagnostic device to be used for no more than 2 years after the a termination date. What is the FDA transition plan for devices within the enforcement policy? There is a 180-day transition period consisting of 3 phases. The date to start is yet to be determined. If the transition plan is finalized before the termination of the public health emergency, the implementation date will be the PHE. If the public health emergency ends before the finalization of the transition plan, the implementation date will be at least 45 days after the transition plan is finalized. Phase 1 is expected to begin on the implementation date, and manufacturer must follow the adverse event reporting requirements. Phase 2 begins 90 days after the implementation date. Manufacturers are expected to adhere to the reporting requirements for device corrections and removal. Phase 3 begins 180 days after the implementation date. FDA expects to withdraw the specific enforcement policy as indicated in the guidance document, and manufacturers will be expected to comply with all statutory and regulatory requirements applicable to their devices. Manufacturers are strongly encouraged to work to complete submissions well in advance of the start of phase 3. This is to avoid potential delays created by a large influx of new submissions and to best serve the public health. FDA will expect the removal of all devices unless a marketing submission has been submitted and accepted by FDA before the start of phase 3, and FDA has not taken a final decision on the marketing submission. We are here to help at QSS. We offer product license application services that consist of preparing and submitting applications, as well as handling communication with FDA. Our team of experts can handle all medical licensing matters and are happy to help you with future projects or questions. Please find our contact information here, and we look forward to supporting your regulatory needs.